So Mark and I worked together to bring this presentation together, and we'd like to share it with you today. So who are we? Stephen gave a nice introduction, but it doesn't really tell you who we are. So as he said, I'm a speech pathologist, and with colleagues, I started e-rehab. But at the heart of me, I'm just a girl from the country. And this picture is where I'm from, and I hold this place very near and dear to my heart. And as I developed professionally, I always kept the mission in my mind that I wanted to make rehab accessible, affordable, and meaningful. Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark Evin. I'm the Chief Product Officer and one of the co-founders at Jintronix. But at the heart of me, I come from a multimedia background, from a technology background, and I'm an entrepreneur, and one of my deepest passions is to really bridge that clinical side and the technology side to put together and make something that's really meaningful for the world.
Go big.
Okay, and I'm going to give a little, before we go in, just to level set a little bit. This is the definition of tele-rehabilitation. Quote, the use of information technologies or telecommunication to provide rehabilitation services at a distance. So, when you as a healthcare provider are not physically in the same location as your patient, and you're using technology to mediate your connection, that's tele-rehabilitation. It's pretty simple. It comes in many different forms, and when you're talking to your patient on the phone to do a quick consult, that's tele-rehabilitation. So it's, and one thing I should note actually, going forward in this presentation is that we're going to be using the words tele-rehabilitation and telemedicine interchangeably, but I'm sure you kind of get it. Telemedicine is really across the spectrum of medical care, and tele-rehab is really focused on rehabilitation. So the different types of telemedicine, there's two main types. The first type is called store and forward. So we know that tele-rehab is about providing care at a distance, but the interesting thing about store and forward is that it's independent of time as well. So I could be, 2 in the afternoon, I could be at home using a technology to perform rehabilitation exercises, for example, or I could be taking my blood pressure, and then that information is stored on a server, and then later in the day, my clinician or doctor in the comfort of their own home or office could go check the data and see what my status is, and then make modifications accordingly. So that's store and forward. The next type of telemedicine is probably what you're more used to when you think of the word telemedicine or tele-rehab. It's really the real-time interaction between you and your patient happening right now. So the basic example of that is using teleconferencing, but it could get very sophisticated for, all the way up to, remote control robotic surgery. That's, on the extreme side. But you could think of teleconferencing as the real core of interactive telemedicine. So I'm going to pass it back to Dee.
Ontario is a really big place. I don't know how many people maybe went on a little road trip somewhere this summer, but it's a really big place. And there's a lot of people that live here. In a recent stat, there's 13,598,676 people. That's a whack of people. And so when you look at where do these people live, we've got 46% living in the GTA, and then the numbers trickle down. But percentages don't really resonate with me. What resonates with me are the people. And so if we look here, and we see that there's 6,472,969 people living in the GTA. Tele-rehabilitation aside, this explains the traffic. But then when you start doing the math, and you start adding up all the other numbers of 1,604,000, 244,000 people, sorry, I'll do the math for you. There's 6 million people living in the GTA, but there's 7 million people who don't. Where do they live? They live in the Nickel Belt. They live in the Eastern Townships. They live down in Petrolia. They live in Thunder Bay. And I don't know if you knew this, but you know the big car map? If you turn it over to the white side, people live there too. And it's far. And when you think about it, in the Obaya report that is available on the table to my left, that they showed that there's 18,000 people annually in Ontario who sustain a brain injury. That's a lot of people. And that these folks are often in need of rehab and they can't get it. Maybe they can't get it because of where they live. Maybe they don't have funding. Maybe they're of a different culture than the culture where they are living. There's lots of reasons why people aren't going to get rehab in some of the more removed areas. I think that's it. So, as far as trying to understand what's going on in Ontario in terms of tele-rehabilitation, at E-Community Supports, we thought, let's ask. So in collaboration with the Ontario Brain Injury Association, we sent out a survey to several thousand people, some 4,000 people. Probably you got one in your email, and many people responded. And we asked questions. Are you using tele-rehabilitation? Why do you use it? Why don't you use it? What are you using it for? And we also asked survivors, are you getting rehabilitation? Are you getting regular rehabilitation? Are you getting tele-rehabilitation? What do you like? What don't you like? And we asked caregivers. So today, to share some of those results, I'm just going to show you this slide. When we asked professionals, where do you live? These were the answers. And guess what? Most of the professionals live where most of the people live in Ontario, in the GTA, southwestern Ontario, Hamilton area. But when we asked, where do you provide service? Well, we'll go anywhere. And you see all of these lines growing. There's not a region in Ontario that we, whoever responded to this survey, doesn't go. So that's a lot of travel. We also asked, do you provide direct tele-rehabilitation over the internet? And a whopping 80-some% don't. We asked, do you provide direct therapy over the telephone? Sure do. 60-something% does. Do you recommend the use of online cognitive training programs? Sure we do. But when we ask about physical ones, no we don't. So we're kind of on and off with tele-rehabilitation. So let's look at this from a clinical story. I have completely fabricated this story. It is right out of my imagination, but it reflects a story that I'm experiencing more and more in my practice, and I suspect you are too. So this is a story about John, and John lives in Timmins. And one evening, John was driving home, and he struck a moose, because that's what happens in Timmins. I've never been to Timmins, but because I'm scared of the moose. But anyway, he is injured in an accident with a moose, and he's hurting all over. So he goes and he gets some physio, goes 3 times a week for that. He goes and he gets some, I'm not sure if this is a picture, chiropractic or massage, but he gets something in South Porcupine. And really, I think anytime you can work the word South Porcupine into a presentation, you got it nailed. So he's driving, in his community, going here and there. But several months go by, and obviously, John was non-cat, which is very important, and I think that everybody knows that means he's got 50,000 schmeasly little dollars to play with. So he's doing this, but several months into it, he finds that he's not really able to pay attention and concentrate, and he loses his place. He's not doing well at work. He has word-finding problems, and emotionally, he's just in the doldrums. So his doctor suggests that he goes to Sudbury. Well, that's a 4-hour, 48-minute drive. giddy up, so you have to stay in a hotel overnight too because of fatigue. But he does it, and that doctor recommends OT. That OT then goes up to Timmins to see him. Drives back down, there's travel up and down this highway. Sometimes it's in the winter, sometimes it's in the summer, but there's a lot of travel going on, either by John or his treatment providers. So then John goes and he meets a psychologist in North Bay. She suggests that he have a neuropsych evaluation. Well, the money is starting to get eaten up now. Then out comes a Form 1. Oops, here goes the money. More driving, more sessions, less money, and then the money's gone. And so is everything else. So John, he doesn't get a chance to meet with me. I'm too low down on the hierarchy for him to be able to meet with a speech pathologist. John doesn't get to continue the physiotherapy, and John hasn't been declared CAT yet. So I wonder, is there a different way that we could do this? So to this end, some colleagues and I in Hamilton developed e-rehab, and it came out of a clinical need. And quickly, the story is that we were working with this guy, and the team was made up of the usual suspects, and there was a therapy support worker in there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, he would meet with the therapy support worker. They would make an excellent plan. And then Tuesday, it was his job to execute that plan. Alas, he forgot, got mixed up in some other harebrained scheme that just might work, and didn't get done what he said he was going to get done. So then Wednesday, the therapy support worker ends up kind of filling in what they should have done on Tuesday, don't get to what they were going to do on Wednesday. Oh, here it is, Thursday. The guy falls behind more. Friday, they say, well, next week's going to be different. I promise, next week's going to be different. So we went on like this for way too long. And then we thought, could we do this better? And this was back in the days of the Palm Pilot. So I've been working on this for a while. So we started using that, and then more technology came, and out of that came e-rehab. And now we use e-rehab to support people primarily with executive functioning problems and memory problems, and we support people to use their technology for planning, prioritizing, memory, initiating, follow-through, evaluation. Sessions are modeled after the well-respected plan, do, review. And our goal is to maximize independence by meeting people online in an affordable way to help them participate in meaningful activities. So nothing says fun like demonstration. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. Could you alakadabra?
Okay.
So Allison is our lead e-coach, and she is at the office. Now, you'll notice that, could you pull up the calendar too, please? It's not my computer, and it's like driving somebody else's car, you just, better they drive. There we go. So, I could meet with Allison. Yeah, there. Okay, we'll make this work. So I would meet with Allison online, so it doesn't matter where I am, really doesn't matter where she is either. So we've been able to support people as they go on vacation to England. Bless Allison's pointed little head where she keeps track of time zones and meets them at the regular times. And so we're able to help people manage their schedules. So just because of the screen, you can't see my schedule, but it looks like everybody else's schedule. So I'm going to just come in here. Hi.
Hi.
So we'll just pretend that this is my schedule and this is an e-rehab session.
Sounds good.
Okay. Get into roll there. Okay.
So how you doing today, Dee?
Good?
Good. Excellent. Are we ready to take a look at your weekend and start making sure you're on track?
Sure.
Perfect. So I've got your Google Calendar pulled up here. Is yours up on your screen?
Sort of in a inside-out kind of way, but yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so let's take a
Oh,
look.
there, I can see it down there. I'm looking at the screen, I got nothing. Okay, yeah, I can see it now.
Perfect. So let's take a look at the rest of today and tomorrow and plan for your weekend.
Okay,
Okay? So today I see you've got a meeting at Thomson Rogers, which is great. Tomorrow looks like quite a busy day.
I like to keep busy.
Good for you. I think that's a great thing. Sometimes too busy is too busy though, right? I mean, sometimes we get overwhelmed. So let's take a look here. I see you've got some laundry on the go, gym, walk the dog, go to the bank. Do you see anything there that might sort of interfere with something else?
Well, if I'm all sweaty when I go to the bank, that might not work well.
Good point. Good point.
I could probably move that.
Let's move that. Why don't you go to the bank when you pick up the kids?
Sure, that sounds good. Would you do it for me? I can't really do it because I'm really speaking to a group of people.
Sure can. No problem.
So you kind of get the idea. So Allison is able to help me stick on track. She can see the schedule. She can really anticipate pitfalls. And one of the fellows that we worked with some time ago, he nailed it in what he said. He said that working online with Allison at eRehab made it seem like he had it going on when he didn't have it going on. So,
I take it this all works from your iPhones and the smaller versions as well.
it could. I've never done it because
I've done it.
oh, there, Allison's done it.
So it can work from your iPhone and your iPad. As long as we have a good, strong internet connection, then we're okay to work from pretty much any smartphone device.
And so then if somebody, I mean, I could imagine where if we went back to Mr. Monday, Wednesday, Friday guy, he's in a pickle and he can't problem solve, is he could, if Allison was available, kind of touch base with her and she could help him in a pinch as well. So I think let's move on to Jintronix.
Sounds good. Okay, so to tell you a little bit about Jintronix, a few of us as co-founders are actually friends from high school. So we got together in Montreal to build technology that has two main purposes. The first is we wanted to make physical rehabilitation fun, and the second is that we wanted to make it more accessible for people who it's difficult to reach a clinic when they really need to. And you're probably asking, as a technologist, why, out of all the things I could have done, why did we land on this specific topic? And the answer actually is pretty simple. It started with the father of one of my co-founders. He's Dr. Tan. It's a true story. He on a flight from New York to Paris in 2007, he actually suffered from a massive stroke on the flight. They did an emergency landing, and he woke up in a hospital in Paris to find the entire right side of his body paralyzed. And we had a chance to really witness and be there as he progressed through his rehabilitation program over several years, and we got a real chance to see some of the problems and the challenges related to just staying motivated to continue doing it and to get yourself back on your feet and picking yourself up and making it to a clinic. And it was based on this that also coincided with motion capture technologies and virtual reality technologies that were becoming accessible to developers to use their imagination and do cool things with. And it was the perfect time, so we got together with researchers and clinicians at McGill University and Concord and the University of Montreal to build a system. And now, fast forward to 3 years later, we're now approved by Health Canada. We just got our FDA clearance, so we're really at a new stage. So I'm going to go a little bit, and just before I show you the demo, I'm just going to show you a little quick step-by-step of how it works. First, the clinician would assess the patient in person. They would set up their program on a computer, and then the patient would have the system at home with the Microsoft Kinect motion capture system, which I'll show you. They sit in front of the system. The system would guide them through their exercises that their clinician had prescribed for them. They would play the activities. They would be slightly gamified, slightly not, depending on the condition of the patient. And then later on, the clinician could then log in, check the data, see how the patient has been performing, and then update their program accordingly. So that's the very basic high level. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you a little bit of the system here. Just a second. Okay. To get so you can see both. So you can see my screen. Okay. Okay. Good to go. Okay. All right. So here I am. So as a clinician, I'm going to log in. Okay, and I'm with my patient. I'm going to do my assessment. Now, one of the things that I'm going to show you, because our system is not just tele-rehabilitation, it's also motion capture technology, and that's a whole new area in itself. So, and that would be a whole other conference, a whole other presentation. But I'm going to just show you a quick basics about what motion capture technology is able to do, aside from the tele-rehabilitation side. So I'm going to show you some what we got range of motion assessments, and how the system, a little bit of a peek under the hood about what motion capture technology could do. So I'm going to do one range of motion assessment, so you could see how the system is able to track the joints on my body without the need of any markers or anything I need to wear. So here I go. I stand still in front of the system. Okay, and here I am. So, hello. Okay, so you see I'm not wearing anything, and the system is actually able to track 25 joints in my body at a rate of 30 frames per second. And here's an example of how the system is actually able to give real-time data, for example, of my shoulder abduction. Now, if I go outside, if I go outside, it'll tell me to move my arm back, and just very basic idea of what it could do. It's good to about 3 to 4 degrees. So that's just before I get into the actual gamification of it and the actual tele-rehab side of it, you could see what the Connect system could do. It's a 200. Sorry, yeah.
And it's just using the video camera from your laptop?
It's using this machine here. This is the Microsoft Connect, so it's a $200 motion capture system. So that's the high level of what the system could do from a motion capture perspective. Now I'm going to go into the activities. I'm logged in. I selected my patient at the top. It's Brian Edward, for example. And over here I've selected activities. And you see at the right corner you've got a client program that I've customized for my patient. I'm not going to go into the customizations in this demo, but I can tell you a little bit about it when I show you it. So that's from the clinician's perspective. Now we're going to step into the client's shoes. So I'm logging out. And here I am, sound, smoke, here I am, I'm Brian Edwards, I'm at home, I'm gonna log in, and here I am. So basically I log in, I've got my page, this is what I see, I can see my personal best, I could see how I've been doing this week, I could see what type of activities I've been working on, and there's a big button over here that says Launch Program. And we're going to go ahead, and before I launch the program, Allison, are you still there?
Still here. Okay,
so in this way, we're actually going to merge the e-rehab and the Jintronix together. So we're going to do motion capture, rehabilitation, combined with the teleconference, so she could see what I'm doing, and then comment and guide me as I perform my activities.
And this is the first time.
This is the first time. We just tried this today, and it seemed to be okay. And so this is a combination of Skype and Jintronix. So this is my program. The first one is So Allison, can you tell me? Do you still see the screen?
I actually don't.
Let's see for a second. Let's see. Do you see the screen now?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it has to do with the screen sharing. So with the extended displays. So, well, we tried, and we're going to continue anyway. So here we got one activity here, that this is a trunk control exercise. So basically, I control this marble, And I gotta control it through the maze, and I gotta basically control the angle of my trunk to perform it through the maze. And I gotta be careful. The clinician could obviously customize exactly what they want. They can decide whether they want more precision, less precision, right side bias, left side bias. And here's a very basic thing, and oh, there we go. So there I finished one activity, completed 5 reps, quality 100%. Now the next one that that my clinician has created for me is a functional upper body activity. Now I didn't really go into it so much, but our activities are split up into upper body functional type tasks and lower body balance type tasks. So I showed you one that's trunk. I'm going to show you one that's a functional environment. So here I am in the kitchen, and I've got to. So I control this hand with my arm. I move out, the hand goes out. I move in. So you see, I'm controlling this hand, and I got to go and I got to grab the utensils. So here we go. I grab that fork, put that fork back. I got to grab that cup. I got to go. I got to go around the shelf. Put the cup back. You'll notice those rabbits there. That's if I take too long, and that creates a timing mechanism if the clinician wants that. So I go around the shelf, put the cup back. If I try to compensate my trunk, it gives me a little indicator at the bottom. And here you go. So while me as a patient am doing this at home, the clinician could then log in from her site, say, okay, what's Brian Edwards up to? He says, oh, okay, he completed this. This is the quality he completed. He compensated his trunk a little bit. I should tell him about that. There's a lot that could be done. So the next activity, the final one, I think we're okay for time. All right, I'll just do this quickly, and then the final activity that I'm going to show you, I do a little wave to begin, is a full weight shift activity. It takes place in a ski environment. Left. So I got to shift left. I got to squat. So this is a balance. Now the clinician on the prescription side, the clinician could then
squat.
Configure how much squatting. So I went outside. So there's an example of all the different things that could be done. And you got that little surfer music in the background for your enjoyment. And so that's Jintronix. There's a lot more there, but I'd love to, if you're interested, come talk to me or send us an email, and we'd be happy to talk to you if you have any other ideas and thoughts. So we'll go back to the presentation here.
And I think just before we kick off here, it was when we were playing with this when we were preparing. It was so great having Allison there that I was imagining that we didn't have the exact compliant patient, and maybe somebody who had a low frustration tolerance, and that Allison was able to kind of give them a little guidance and coaching at the same time. So that's what you didn't see. So if we were to think, what does what we've just shown you do for John? That when you do the math, this is a more cost-effective treatment approach. That we get more clinical touches, and that means that he's going to get more of the help he needs. It is not meant to replace anybody, but to augment and to be part of a toolbox. We also will allow John to spend his energy on his treatment more and less driving up and down that stinking highway. We see a better continuity of care because he's able to keep working maybe between appointments that are scheduled with great time spans in between. So he's going to maybe stick with the program longer. So these are all benefits that John would experience.
Okay. We got 2 minutes left. So.
Okay.
Okay. So quickly, what this means for you, just to pick up on what Dee said. More cost-effective treatment. So when you're developing a treatment plan and proposing it to an insurance provider, when you propose as a critical factor that this treatment plan is going to provide more bang for their buck, this could be a huge impact in getting your treatment plan approved, for example. The second is your geographical net. All of a sudden, you could take care of patients more effectively at a wider distance. Your market size, the size of the patients you could be important to, all of a sudden grows significantly. And finally, continuity of care. So if there's a low-cost, low-maintenance technology tool that could keep your patient in communication with you even after they've been discharged, this is a huge way to be at the top of their mind the next time they need services.
So what we're suggesting here is a bit of a paradigm shift, and we're asking that you keep your minds open to the idea that technology can be a partner. And just like Joe already knew, it takes two to make a thing go right. We call our presentation "The Future is Now." So these are some classified, some ads that I clipped out from a quick Google search. There are jobs for tele-speech, tele-OT, tele-physio, tele-psychologist, tele-whatever you want. And the Americans are doing it. And I think that we're different. And I think that we have the chance now to be making a made-in-Canada approach that meets with our Canadian sensibilities, if you will. And I'm comforted by Abraham Lincoln when he said that the best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time, because this is kind of scary. I mean, I didn't think of the iPhone. I use the iPhone every day. So it's bit by bit, patient by patient, try by try. And we hope that now that we've demonstrated some different techniques, we've put some new information out there, we hope that your questions are going to start brimming so that we can keep this conversation going. Thank you.